Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Andrew. Thanks for joining me today on Upper 90. I'm excited to be here, just to talk to you guys. But, I'm still definitely feeling the after effects of that disappointing defeat to PSG, that got us knocked out. So, now that the emotions are much calmer, I'm all the way calmed down now, right? I want to analyze this game a little bit more in depth, just to kind of, see where it is that we lost this game, see and analyze what went wrong in this game, and then look ahead for the future, right? Just a little bit. So it's a lot to get into. So let me just go ahead and dive right in and get started, right? So the first and foremost thing that I want to talk about, guys, is the starting lineup, right? Let's start there, right? I think that the starting lineup was almost perfect, almost. And I say almost because for me, in a game like this where we did not need to go on the offensive, right? We needed to be aggressive, not passive. We definitely needed to be aggressive, but we didn't need to go on the offensive to go chase anything. And so for that reason, we could have taken just a slightly more defensive stand. And so the only changes that I would have made in that starting lineup, which I actually predicted in my preview game, was Pedri rested and Inigo Martinez started. Inigo Martinez would be in the holding midfield position, and then you would have Frankie de Jong and Gundogan as the other midfielders, right? I think that right there would be a pretty strong team because both Frankie and Gundogan are creative going forward, and Inigo would be that, that rock in front of the back line, which would have been needed and necessary when you look at what we were going up against in Barcelona, Dembele, and Mbappe. So that's the only change that I would make. So overall, I would say Xavi get a 9 out of 10 for the starting lineup. The other reason why I would not have started Pedri is because he's fresh from injury. This is a high-octane game. I would say bring him on in the second half, exactly like we did in the first leg, and let him come on to be impactful because it gives us something coming off the bench, right? So that's the first thing. The starting lineup was mostly fine, right? Just one change that I would suggest. I mentioned this change in my preview game, and I stand by it right now in light of what happened in the game. So now let's move on to the sequence of events, right? First and foremost is that PSG came out exactly as they needed to. They were strong, they were bold, they were aggressive, they were searching and seeking, and nothing happened. And after all that huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing, we smacked them in the face. 1-0. That is exactly what we needed to do, guys. That's exactly how our game plan was supposed to be. They were supposed to come out swinging as expected, and all the huffing and puffing leads to nothing, and then we, bam, hit them. We did that. 1-0. Do you know how emotionally devastating it is to be playing that well, to be controlling the game and dominating, and still turn around and concede? Do you know how emotionally devastating that is, right? In addition to that, Dembele was getting booed every time he touches the ball. It started to get to him because you notice he was slipping, he was making a couple, little mistakes here and there. And in addition to that, Cancelo was stopping him each time he tried to go past him. So everything was going according to plan for us, right? Next sequence of event, Lewandowski with a chance to go 2-0 up, and he skied it, right? In a game like this, you need everybody, every single one of your players to be very sharp, very focused, very locked on, head on a swivel, ready to go at a moment's notice. In that situation, he wasn't, because I don't fault him for going for the shot. He's a striker. He's right in the box. That's what he's supposed to do. But alternatively, Lamine Yamal and somebody else was wide open, waiting for that pass. He went for the shot. Fine. He didn't even hit the target. And so in retrospect, passing that ball to Lamine Yamal would have been a much better option, because Lamine could have either went straight for goal or took it towards goal, cut it back to the 6-yard box, and then hopefully somebody would have been there to tap it in for a 2-0. If we go up by 2-0, and the very next sequence of event, which is Arajuo's red card, if we went up 2-0, first thing, would we need to push up so high to create that space for Barcola to run into? Maybe not. If it did happen indeed, and Barcola found himself in that much space, and Arajuo now is a step behind him, would he need to put a challenge in, or would he need to just kind of let him just keep following him and rush him to take that shot and see what happened, right? Maybe that's what would have happened, because in that scenario, if he scored, so what? We're still in front in the game, and we're still in front on aggregate. So if he scored, it wouldn't have mattered, right? Now let's talk about that red card. The only debatable piece of information in this scenario is whether or not Kubarsi was the actual last man, and Arajuo wasn't the last man, right? Denying a goal scoring opportunity. That's the only debatable piece. But in terms of a foul, it was a foul. We're being honest today, okay? I've always been honest, but today we're being really honest and examine the team and what went wrong, right? That was a foul. It was slight. It was very soft, right? It could have gone either way. It was soft. The referee also had a decision to make whether or not he gives a penalty and a yellow card to Arajuo rather than a free kick and a red card, right? He chose what he chose. It was a red card. He gave it. Okay, whatever. For me, guys, that's not how Barcelona lost that game. And I won't go ahead and blame Arajuo for that tackle. One, because it wasn't a rash, blatant, stupid tackle. It was not, right? If it was like a rash lunge and he misses the ball and got the man, then you'd be like, come on, dude, what are you doing? You are way better than this. But it was two players tussling for the ball very fast. He got his hands on his shoulder. The speed and momentum pulled him back. He fell. Okay, the ref gave it. All right, whatever, right? Now, the next sequence of event after that red card was given was how do we adjust for the rest of this half? Initially, I'm thinking, okay, we can just keep the team as it is, because Frankie had stepped back in that back line. So I was like, let's keep the team as it is a little bit. Keep Lamine and everybody else up there so we can try and at least go get another goal before the end of the half. And when we get into the break room, we can discuss what changes we need to make. But then Xavi decided that he got to change somebody to bring in a defender, which it's not a bad idea, right? You're up against it with these guys, so it's not a bad idea. But then when you look around and make the decision, in an article, in an interview, he said basically it was between Pedri and Lamine, but he took off Lamine because he wanted to keep Pedri for more ball control. Well, it didn't work because Pedri didn't control anything. The whole team did not control anything for that matter. So that decision backfired, right? And I get it, right? This is a fast happening situation. That decision got to be made ASAP. You don't have time to think that much. So I get it. He's under pressure. You got to make a quick decision. Lamine is essentially the easiest target because he's a teenage kid, right? So he's the easiest target. You couldn't go take off Lewandowski, even though he was practically useless, right? You couldn't go take him off at that point. You definitely couldn't touch Rafinha. So it's like, what do? I get it, right? I don't think that was the best choice. I think that we should have reorganized our shape, kept the team with what we had out there, let Frankie step back in the hole in that defensive position, adjust Gundogan. So we would now be playing on the counter attack with one less player, but we would just readjust our shape and just be disciplined defensively and just kind of play on the counter until the half, so that Xavi had enough time to think this thing through and say, okay, who am I going to bring in on the second? And how am I going to make this adjustment so that we can make things work? Had he played it that way, chances are we may have scored another goal before the half. We don't know. Either way you look at it, the reality is he made the change he made. He brought on Martinez, took off Lamine, brought on Martinez, right? You lost a rock in the back and you lost a firecracker in the front line. Okay, major losses. However, guys, let's think about this for 1 second. We were still 1-1 in the game, 4-3 on aggregate, which means if we come out in the second half, discipline, lock things down, we advance to the semifinals, right? So Arajuo, for me, did not lose the game. It's everything that happens after that. If you want to look for a scapegoat, first and foremost, let's point at Cancelo, because the equalizer came as a result of Cancelo's lack of defensive ability, because he was supposed to be picking up Dembele. He didn't. Dembele had a free range, bam, 1-1. Cancelo coming in late. He should have been glued to Dembele, knowing the speed, knowing that we're vulnerable, knowing that we're short a man. He should have been glued to Dembele. There's no way Dembele should have been able to be that much free in the box. Right? So if we're looking for a scapegoat, we can easily point to Cancelo. I'm not necessarily pointing fingers at no one specifically. I am just pointing out the obvious of what happened, right? When you look at the second half, we came out, it was 1-1, 4-3 on aggregate. 4-3 on aggregate, right? We're still in the lead. I know that our style of football as an institution is not to defend, park the bus. I know that's not the Barcelona way of playing, but it's the common sense way of playing, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the common sense way of playing. Look at Real Madrid yesterday, right? Real Madrid went to Man City. They knew if they ever opened themselves up and try to play these guys toe for toe, they will be destroyed. What did they do? They locked it down defensively. They nicked a goal early, and then they completely parked the train, not bus, but train, and played for counter breaks. It worked to perfection for 120 minutes. There's not one Madrid fan right now that is complaining and saying, I am so disappointed that we got to the semifinals by playing the way that we played. Man, that was so unattractive. I'm so disappointed. Absolutely not. Everybody in Madrid right now is happy that they've advanced to the semifinals. They don't care how they got there. So, and this plays a little bit into Xavi's inexperience as a manager at this level. Again, no, this is not a jab to Xavi. This is just pointing out the obvious. He is inexperienced at this level, and that's okay. You can only become experienced by living these experiences. So hopefully next time he'll be far better, right? But in that particular scenario, he should have made an adjustment, a tactical adjustment with the same players that he had on the field, and say, okay guys, everybody stay behind the ball except Rafinha. For me, Lewandowski involved. He's in the midfield now. You're playing midfield, Louis, and Rafinha is the only person. Rafinha's role, stay on the half line onside, so that anything over the top you can get it, because PSG needed to still push. And so they were playing with a very high back line, which if Rafinha stays on the halfway line or stays on their last man, chances are we could have played a couple balls over the top or on the ground through for him to go chase and do what he can do, right? But we maintain a defensive posture for 45 minutes, gentlemen and ladies, 45 minutes. And that more than likely could have, I'm not saying that it would have, but it could have given us what we needed to get over the line in the face of adversity. We didn't lose that game because of Arajuo's red card. We lost that game because of poor management. We lost it because of the inability to adjust. In contrast, the previous game, right, the first leg, we were leading 1-0 quite comfortably. And then we came out in the second half, fell asleep, and then next thing you know, we were down 2-1. And the thing that defined that game, the one thing that defined that game and the subsequent outcome was the team's ability to refocus, to calm themselves down, refocus, and then start playing football again the way they were before. That led to the equalizer and then later on the go-ahead goal and gave us the victory, right? We were unable to do that today after conceding that equalizer and also losing Arajuo. But let me just refresh your memory for some of us, for those that are long-time Barcelona fans, right? Let me refresh your memory. Remember Barcelona up against Chelsea in the second leg away at Stamford Bridge. We were down a man very early in the first half. Abidal got a red card, and Abidal was a defender, a left back. He got a red card. Almost similar circumstances where a defender got sent off in the first half. So we had to play the remainder of that first half a man down, and the entire second half a man down. And it was brutal. Chelsea was relentless. They were coming at us, attack after attack. And Barcelona held their own. It was scrappy, it was sometimes chaotic, but they held their own. And when I and everybody else thought that the game was done and dusted, out of nowhere came Iniesta's fantastic and superb strike, 1-1. And after that, the game wasn't over because Chelsea kept coming at us and quite frankly could have possibly gotten a penalty. They kept coming. But the result of that game was 1-1. Barca advances to the final with a man down for majority of the game and a defender to be exact, right? And I want to say, if my memory served me right, Pep Guardiola was the manager at the time, and I want to say that he did the same thing. I think he pulled another player and brought in a defender, Silvinho, I believe. I could be wrong, but either way, the circumstances in the scenario were almost identical. We came through. Why? Those guys had heart. They had character. They didn't have a lot of experience, but they had heart and soul and character. And I want to say this team is missing a little bit of that. And I think over time, they'll get more, but they're missing a little bit of that, right? So the game was lost because of that. Then you move on deeper into the second half. Cancelo with his rash challenge gave up a penalty, right? And at that point, the game was over. At that point, it was over. We were pushing and trying to get one to push it to extra time. And, okay, valiant effort, nice try. But mentally and psychologically, the game was already gone, right? And then just to add insult to injury, they had a counter break, took 2 shots, 2 beautiful saves by Ter Stegen. We couldn't clear it properly. Bounced off the backside of Fermin Lopez and conveniently in the path of Mbappe for a simple tap-in, game over, and that's it. That's how we lost that game. We also lost that game in part because of Xavi. I spoke about Xavi's lack of experience as a manager at this elite level because he lost his cool and got a red card. And this is many red cards now, by the way, for Xavi. Now, I love Xavi. I love Xavi dearly. He's a legend. He's a good coach as well. I dare say he's a very good coach. He's obviously learning on as he grows, but he's a good coach, and I think that he has a bright future as a manager. And I respect and I love his passion for the game. I'm passionate about the game too, Xavi. But you gotta learn a little bit more self-control, my man, because when your team needs you the most, you got a red card, you got sent off. How does that affect the players on the pitch, right? To see their manager getting sent off, right? So we just let this whole situation got to us and we lost our way, right? We lost our way completely, and that's how we got knocked out at the quarterfinal stage. And the big players who were supposed to really be pulling the strings and really pulling their weight, they didn't. Lewandowski had an amazing first leg, and he didn't this time around. He couldn't control the ball. He couldn't stay on his feet. He barely could take a shot on target. Gundogan similarly, right? His control wasn't quite what. He had a couple of misplaced passes. He took a shot that he should have buried it. He didn't. So the guys, the experienced players, the ones that you expect to do, they let us down. And you know what? Like I said, I'm not blaming them. The red card did change the trajectory and the dynamic of the game drastically, and the referee to some extent also negatively impacted the game in our part. However, though, with all of that being said, we could have still come out on top had we restructure our team and an approach, and instead of trying to be open and going for it, sit back, absorb that pressure, and hit them on the counter, because you know we would have gotten our chance, right? And so that's exactly what happened and how we lost that game. And that 4-1 is very flattering. The way PSG played, they did play a pretty good game. The scoreline is flattering. It's absolutely flattering, right? Because, as I said, if we play 11v11, we're in the semifinals right now, getting ready, gearing up to go see Dortmund. Period. Hands down, no questions asked, right? So, but you know, with all that being said, you just gotta love this sport. You gotta love this game of football, man, because this football is the most unpredictable and illogical sport ever. Because my predictions, all of them, the only game that I did not call was Arsenal and Bayern Munich, because it was a toss-up. But there was no way I was going to call Madrid. Not because I'm anti-Madrid, but because I just felt like City was going to get it done. I thought we were going to get it done too. I thought that Atletico Madrid, with their defensive ability, would also have gotten it done. Failed. Everybody failed. So you just got to love this game. But anyways, that's what happened. Now let's look forward. And first and foremost, the thing that we have to do immediately is to come down off that high. As a matter of fact, we are already down from that defeat. We now need to pick ourselves up, get our minds focused, locked on El Clasico, because this is an important game. There is no better opportunity to pick yourself up, to pick up your emotions, than to go into the Bernabeu and beat Madrid. Even if we don't end up winning La Liga, that's okay. This will give us satisfaction. It will lift our confidence and give us the ability to go on and win out the remaining games and finish the season strong and come again next season, right? So we must get our focus back. We must get that confidence back, and we must go and do what we've done in the last several games. We cannot afford to let this one game throw us completely off and we just perform poorly for the rest of the season. We got to pick it up and we got to go again, right? So let's go Barca, Visca Barcelona, let's go. Now, in looking forward to next season, I know it's kind of early to be talking about next season, but I'm just going to throw a couple pieces of nuggets out there, food for thought, and I want you guys to go down below in the comment section and please tell me what your thoughts are. Please tell me what you're thinking, right? I think that next season, we need to sell Inigo Martinez and make some money. We need to sell Frankie de Jong. And I say, yes, you heard right. We need to sell Frankie de Jong. The reason I said that, Frankie de Jong is not a pivot player. He's not a holding defensive midfielder. We need somebody who is a natural holding midfielder, like what Oriol Romeo was supposed to be. He gone. We definitely selling him too. He's gone. So he's not even, he's gone. Frankie's not a pivot. We need a proper pivot. There's talks about Alex Garcia from Girona. There's, we've been linked with Kimmich. We've been linked with Zubimendi. I don't know at this point in time who would be the best fit, because that also depends on who is the manager. But for me, Frankie's gone. Inigo Martinez is gone. Lewandowski, thank you so much for what you've done for us. He's gone. Ferran Torres, also thank you for what you've done for us. He's gone, right? All of these guys must go in addition to Romeo. We got to sell them. And what do we replace them with? Well, we need a proper pivot, a natural pivot. We need Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao. Yes, we need him on that left attacking flank. Absolutely, we need him. We can keep João Felix for another loan. We are not buying him, but we can keep him for another loan, right? And we need a center forward. We also need to go buy a proper center forward. My eyes are on Julian Alvarez from Man City. He's my guy. He's my go-to guy, because he is a little bit reminiscent of Luis Suarez, right? He's not that rugged Erling Haaland type of a striker. He's very silky smooth, more like Luis Suarez. So for me, he's the guy. I do believe that with the sale of Frankie, Inigo Martinez, who we got for free, Romeo won't give us much, and also Lewandowski and Ferran Torres, I think that Barcelona can get enough money to go ahead and buy these players. Nico Williams for about 50 mil. We could probably get Alex Garcia for, you know, with a swap between him and Romeo going the other way with some added cash, maybe 25, 30 mil. I'm being optimistic. I don't know. Zubimendi price, I've heard 50 mil. Kimmich about the same. So you never know. Julian Alvarez, I'm not sure exactly how much he would cost us, but probably about 50 to 60 million as well. But I do believe that with the money we get from the sale of those players that I mentioned before, I think that we can buy these players. We need someone like Nico Williams on that left to create problems. He can score, he can pass. We need a profile like his. And he would be a perfect fit because he knows the Spanish league. He's young, so his future is bright. And he's friends with a lot of the Barca players, right? The core of the team remains the same. Backline, you know, we have Arajuo, Kubarsi, Kunde, Cancelo, Balde. In the midfield, we have Gundogan stick around for another season, maybe. But then you also have Pedri, Gavi, Fermin is coming up, and whoever we buy as that pivot. You know, and we could keep Sergio Roberto for another season, although I'm a little bit indifferent with that choice. But overall, the spine of the team is perfectly intact with Lamine and Rafinha on the right side. We just need to get rid of the ones I mentioned and bring in the ones I suggested. And I think next season, guys, again, football is illogical, but I think that if we're able to make those changes or similarly, I think the future is bright because this generation of players coming up, they are very talented, and I see a bright future, right? So let me know what your thoughts are on those you know, sale and purchases. Let me know what you think. Can we do it? Would you do it? Let me know in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video, share it. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to my channel. I'm really trying to grow this channel, guys, so you know, motivate me to keep doing this. I love talking about football, I love playing, I love watching, and I want to continue to do this. So help me, you know, incentivize me a little bit by subscribing if you haven't subscribed, or sharing with somebody who you think would, you know, find this content interesting. I'm also going to be doing a review for El Clasico, so that will be my very next video. But thank you so much, guys, for your support, your kindness. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, more peace, more love.